All right. We are finishing up about a month into the program. So let's go ahead and jump on the scales and see how you guys did.
Karen.
Have some standings. So after 4 weeks in sixth place, down 1.6.78%, Miss Sam. In fifth place, down 5.6 pounds, 3.16%, Beth. In fourth place, down 10.4 pounds, 3.5%, Karen. Third place, down 8 pounds, 4.14%, Christina. In second place, down 8.6 pounds, 4.32%, Stephanie. In first place, down 12.6 pounds, 5.87%, Cliff. Good job to everybody. This week we didn't have any new decades, but we have some of you literally so close. Awesome job. Awesome job, everybody. And so last week, season 9 talked to you about life and death being in the power of the tongue and how important our words are. We will, whatever it is that we say winds up being what we think. And we will never outgrow, we will never outpace what we think about ourselves or what we think about the future. It is so what you think about you is more important than what I think about you. What you think about you and how you choose to speak about you and your future is so freaking important. And you cannot outrun, just like they'll say you can't outrun a bad diet, you can't outrun bad language. You can't outrun negative language. You cannot have a negative language and a positive life. You can't have negative language and positive things happening. If you want to have positive things happening, you've got to be positive. And it's how we choose to speak. It's how the perspective we choose to have, all those things. And so I'll give you guys just a quick example on this. When I looked at who I wanted to become, literally going back to the week we talked about vision, it was looking at the kind of person I wanted to be. And then it was listening to the things I was saying. And it was like, what am I saying that doesn't line up with the destination I want? And what do I need to start saying? It really is powerful. And so awesome job for those of you guys that are really starting to look for those areas that you can start. And it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen overnight. Most of us have years and sometimes decades of saying negative stuff. Some of us are surrounded by negative people, especially if you're in the personal development space at all, you have some clue to this. But if you are not in the personal development space at all, chances are it's like, this is a whole new thing for you. And that's okay. But what I'm going to tell you is this whole thing on your words is so freaking powerful. And it leads right into what we're going to talk about this week, which is your habits. Because first we form our habits and then our habits form us. I'll say that again. First we form our habits and then our habits form us. Our life is a culmination of whatever our habits are. How do we know if our habits are healthy or unhealthy?
By how we look.
By the number on the scale. Listen, we can try to be in all the denial we want. We can try to fake it to the rest of the world. We can try to pretend like we're super duper healthy and we just we never eat any junk and all that crappy stuff that's in these foods. Like we don't eat them. Like, ew, it's so gross and so bad for us. But at the end of the day, our butt doesn't lie. And what we eat in private shows up in public. What we eat in private shows up in public. And so all these times where, we think we're fooling people but our habits, so for overweight, we have overweight habits. And part of that, for some of you, you might have the same issue I had. I was nutritionally retarded. Like I legitimately did not know how many calories or how unhealthy I was making my vegetables. When I can remember my husband coming to me one time and saying, hey, we need to eat healthier. We need to eat more vegetables. And I was like, sure, no problem. I made more vegetables, but I still loaded them up with butter, cheese, but we're eating more veggies, honey. Like, even though my vegetables probably had the same amount of calories as French fries, because I would make salads and put all the unhealthy stuff in it, but I made a salad. I would make a vegetable tray and have the full fat sour cream dip, or a fruit tray with the caramel apple, the Marzetti's caramel apple dip, or the Better Than Sex dip, which is like marshmallow fluff and cream cheese and, anyway, so good, so bad. So we know what our habits are by where we're at. And the sooner we can come to terms with that, the faster we can get around them. One of the things that kept me stuck for so long was putting up this front and pretending that I had different habits than what I had. I can still remember the day when I looked in the mirror and I said, Carmen, you have morbidly obese habits. You are morbidly obese, which means you have morbidly obese habits. Who do you think you're kidding? Who are you trying to fool? Why are you eating this stuff in private? Why are you on vacation eating a candy bar in the closet? Like, you are not 10. You are an adult who has an own house, has a child, makes your own money, and you're literally hiding in a closet like a child eating food on vacation. It was at least a walk-in closet. It was like a room. Right? And so I had to start taking an inventory of first off, where am I? Where do I want to go? Okay. So where do I want to go? Here's the goal. The goal was 127 pounds, 18% body fat, happy, healthy, energetic, likes what I see in the mirror, able to shop in any store, able to wear things without Spanx underneath, able to have energy, able to go ziplining, able to ride roller coasters, able to be the mom in the game, on the floor, wrestling with the kids, not the one sitting on the couch taking the photos, not trying to hide in my photos, getting someone in front of me or trying to get out of the photos, being fully present in the photos, wanting to take the photos, wanting to do all those things, right? That's the person I wanted to be. So it's like, okay, here's who I want to be. What kind of habits does that person have? What kind of habits does the person I want to be? What kind of habits do they have? And what kind of habits do I have right now? And I started looking at what overweight, but I had to come to the place before I can unbiasedly look at my bad habits, I have to come to the place of realization and honesty to be honest enough with myself of I have morbidly obese habits. See, prior to that, I don't want to look at it. I'm going to make excuses. I'm going to make reasons. I'm going to overlook it. I'm going to justify my behavior. But when we come to the place of, no, I have morbidly obese habits. I didn't wind up this way on accident. This is not all genetics like I used to try to tell myself. I just have bad genetics. I'm just big boned. Listen, every medical thing that you want to try to think of, thyroid issues, I thought I probably had all of them, and that's why I was overweight. At the end of the day, do you know why I was overweight? Because I had overweight habits. That's why. So when I finally came to that truth within myself and I finally accepted it, it was like, okay, you can't change what you don't accept. You can't change what you try to deny. And so all these times, it was like Jekyll and Hyde. I was trying to do these diets. And friends, hear me when I say this. Anything you're not changing, you're choosing. Anything we're not changing, we are choosing. And to have this be a for the rest of your life change, you've got to change it. And not just for 6 months. If you make these changes for 6 months and you don't make them forever, you're going to lose weight inside of the program. But as soon as the program's done, you're going to go right back to where you came from. And that's not my goal. That's not why I'm here. I'm not here for you to lose weight and then go find it again. And this is why we talk about these things. Listen, I understand that most programs only talk about what you're eating, how much you're exercising. Most programs only talk about the calorie deficit. Why do we talk about these things? Why do we go to the root of the issue? Because this is what causes it. This is what causes it. This is what causes it. And so every week as we go through some of these things, I know some of these things are going to be uncomfortable. And I know some of you, your knee-jerk reaction is going to be to want to defend your choices, yourself. Well, no, Carmen, I didn't do that. Or what we try to do is we try to look for reasons why we're better. Well, I never went in a closet. Well, I never got all my food out when my spouse left. Okay, that's great. What do you do? What do you do? Don't measure, because listen, for a lot of years, I would look at my friend who was heavier than me and I would judge her for what she did. And I would make myself feel better because I didn't do the things she did. I didn't bury a pizza box. I didn't make a whole box full of buttered noodles and eat them. So I would look for all the ways of why she was worse and I was better and make myself feel better. But so maybe you didn't do what I did. What do you do? What habits do you have that have caused you to stay where you're at? What habits do you currently have that have caused you to stay stuck? And let's look at a habit, okay? So habits are things we do without thinking. So like when you're making the kids lunch and you pop a pretzel in your mouth. Some of us have a habit of just, when food's in front of us, we just eat it. You don't even have to think about it. A pretzel's there, a snack's there, a candy's there, a cookie's there. We just grab it and take a bite. We're making the kids lunch. We lick the peanut butter knife. Some of us have a habit of, the kids have chicken nuggets left on the plate. We eat the chicken nugget, right? Like we have these little habits of mindless eating. Sometimes we have different habits, the way we respond to stress. The way we respond to stress. How we speak is also a habit, whether we're positive or negative, that is a habit. It is a habit. And our health is a direct result of our habit. Our spending habits. We have habits when it comes to our spending. This is why making more money is never the answer to people's financial issues. Most people think making more money, if I made more money, that would solve all my problems. No one, as someone who has coached thousands of people, been in this business for 20 years, helped people make 6 and 7 figures. If people don't learn how to manage what they have, they will never manage what they're going to get. I've coached people when they were broke and they thought if they just made 100 grand a year, they wouldn't be broke. And I've watched them be broker making multiple 6 figures. Why? Because when you have a habit of spending and you make more and you don't change your habits, you just spend more. Been there, done that. This is how you wind up at 20 some years old with your own private limo driver on call, a whole room that you turned into a closet. You have over 250 pairs of shoes, an entire bedroom filled with clothes from floor to ceiling. Because I made more money and I never changed my spending habits. I spent everything I made when I made 10,000 a year, 20,000 a year, and when I made $1 million a year. I spent everything. Why? Because I had bad spending habits. We didn't start accumulating wealth until I changed my spending habits. Okay. And listen, there's still some of you that hear that and you think, nah, Carmen, I'm broke because I don't make enough. Nope. Most millionaires never make a 6-figure income, ever. Most millionaires never have made a 6-figure income in their life. It's the good financial habits that they developed when they didn't make a lot of money that caused them to become a millionaire. All right. So our health is a direct result of our habits. We talked about our finances. Our lack of or finances are a direct result. How much money we keep at the end of what we make is a direct result of our habits. So if we look at what a habit is, Hold on, I have the definition somewhere. Okay. So the definition of a habit is a settled or regular tendency or practice, especially one that is hard to give up. A habit is a routine behavior that is repeated and tends to occur subconsciously, which means we don't even have to think about it before we do it. It is a habit. It has become habitual. We have done it so many times that when we do something so many times, it creates a super highway in our brain. And then we don't even have to be aware of where we're driving. We've done this. If you have a route that you've ever driven over and over and over and over and over again, you have a super highway in your brain. This is how sometimes you can get to that location. And when you get there, you can't exactly even remember the whole route because you've been thinking or doing something else and you get there. Anyone ever done that? You've gotten somewhere and you've been like, whoa, like you didn't even remember the route. Like you didn't even remember all the miles. Like you didn't even remember passing the boot barn on your way to work. And you just wound up there and you were like, wow, how did I get here? Okay. It's because you traveled along that super highway. So anytime you do something enough times, it becomes habitual. You go. And it's like when you walk on a path, the more you walk on a path, the more it becomes a path. If you just cut through the woods one time, no one's going to be able to tell that you cut through the woods. But what if you cut through the woods in the same path 4 times a day for a month? Same route, all of a sudden it is going to be a noticeable path. Someone else coming through that will be like, oh, there's a trail. There's a path. Let's see what's over here. It's the same way inside of your brain. So these things that we do over and 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 over again create a superhighway. And we start doing these behaviors subconsciously without even thinking about it, without even realizing it. We have these behaviors. We have these behaviors that have become habits. In a habit, there's all kinds of different studies on how long a habit takes to form. My belief is somewhere around 60 days. It takes somewhere around 60 days to fully have a super highway developed inside of your brain. Some people say it can be done as soon as 21 days. I think some things can, but nothing that we're talking about. Nothing, none of this stuff. It takes about 60 days of doing it consistently, going to create that super highway. Okay. So the first step in changing our habits is figuring out our destination. What is your goal? Again, what is your goal? What is your vision? If failure wasn't an option, what's the end goal for your health? Where do you want to be? What does it look like? Second, what habits do you currently have that do not line up with the goal that needs to go? I do want to give you this one really quickly. I didn't tell you this. So this is another definition of a habit. And I think it's a fixed way of thinking, willing, or feeling acquired through previous repetition of a mental exercise. It's a fixed way of thinking through previous repetition of a mental exercise. Mental exercise is the way we think. Our actions follows our thoughts. So this is fully in control of all your super highways. How many of you want super highways that lead you to happy, healthy, strong, fit? Like, right? We want those super highways, but they don't just happen. We have to, our feelings will never lead us to where we want to be. Our feelings will always lead us down these other side roads, down these other places. We can't follow our feelings. We cannot. They will not lead us to where we want to go. And so some examples of some habits that I had. Late night snacking was a really big habit for me. Late night snacking and going to bed full. Those were 2 habits. I could be good all day long, and then I would just want sugar. Sugar was a really bad habit that I had. Drinking too much soda, fast food for lunch when I worked outside of the home. Not working out was definitely a habit. Being negative was a huge habit. Quitting. Oh my goodness. Quitting was a huge habit when it came to weight loss. Not when it came to the rest of my life. For me, I had gotten married, we started having kids. I had built a business from nothing to over $9 million a year, had several locations. We paid off all of our debt, including our mortgage. Like we had so many things going on good in our life, but my weight was the one thing that no matter how many areas in life were going great, I could not get a freaking hold of it. It was like my Achilles heel. So I cannot tell you how many diets I started over the years. So many diets, you named it, I did it. I had a habit of getting frustrated, a habit of complaining about the results not happening fast enough, complaining about being tired, complaining about being sore, complaining about lack of sleep. And most of the population doesn't look at these things. They ignore them. Why? Because it's uncomfortable to look at them. It's uncomfortable. Think about it. When most people, when a diet fails, how many people don't say, you know what, that diet really works, but I messed it up? Most people don't say that. When a diet fails, what do we most of the time blame? The dumb diet, the stupid diet, right? Like we blame the diet. Like nobody says, you know what? The diet has a track record. I'm the one that didn't work the diet. The diet works. I didn't work it. Nobody says that. We blame the diet, right? And so it's being willing to do something that if you want something that most people don't have, you have to, or if you want something that you've never had, you have to be willing to do something you've never done. And so it was like, okay, what habits? And I'm telling you all these little phrases that I'm telling you, like I had these as reminders around my house. I had them on sticky notes. I had them as reminders in my phone. Carmen, if you want something you've never done, if you want something you've never had, you have to be willing to do something you've never done. That was a reminder for me. Nothing changes if nothing changes. That was a reminder for me. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result. That was a reminder for me. And so ignoring these things will never get us to where we want to go. So the third thing, what habits do I need to reach the goal? What habits do I need to develop? It's starting to develop. Most of the habits we've developed not on purpose. We've developed them through environment. We've developed them through being raised by the parents, by the grandparents, our friends. Most of the habits we have are because of the environments we've put in. Most of our habits have not come from strategic thinking about where we want to be 1 year from now and what habits do we need to get there. Think about where our lives would be today if you started developing habits based on where you wanted to go versus on who you were around.
I think that I need to stop letting myself feel tired. I do that. And my mom pointed it out to me a long time ago. I mean, I was tested for everything, like everything, all the blood work, all the things that, like I was like deathly tired. That's how it seemed. And then I just couldn't figure it out until my mom was like, you need to keep that mantra to yourself. And I'm like, what? And she's like, you always say you're tired. It was constantly coming out of my mouth that I'm so tired, but I'm starting to do that. And I think my like excuse is the pregnancy that I'm like, oh, the baby's getting so big. I'm tired. You know what I mean? Like it's just an easy kind of excuse. And yeah, when you said that, I was like, oh my gosh. And then I thought about too how with every pregnancy, it always escaped me. Why would I gain 80 to 90 pounds? This is baby number 5. Like, why? I know I'm eating like crazy, but why am I doing it? And I think I've just like been telling myself, that's what you do. You gain weight. You gain 90 pounds when you have a baby, and you tell yourself you have no control over it. And every time I got I got up there. My doctor was really worried about my health with this one now, and she's like, oh my gosh, well, you're doing okay on your weight at my last check-in. And I have another check-in coming up, which I'm super excited about on the 29th because, if I think, she'll see I've gone down a little bit. So I just thought that was really neat and I loved it. And I like how you said, if you don't change it, right, you're choosing it. I love that. I love that idea of just taking that responsibility.
So for me is I have to quit speaking death over myself. I'm good at encouraging other people, but not myself because of how I look at myself and what my self-worth is. So I have to reprogram my mind on myself, how I look at myself and speak life over myself instead of death.
So, when you mentioned to like, what's that one thing, right? I started writing my list of all the bad habits, and I could definitely resonate with pretty much a majority of the habits that you listed. But the word intentional, it comes to my mind. And I still just need to expand on that. But I guess I agree with the ladies in terms of like my words, the way I think, but I feel like being intentional, because if I look at why I have the habits that I have, it's because I've let myself be last. I've let myself be like the dumping ground where, I'm giving my best to everybody and then dump on myself in some subconscious negative way. So yeah, I want to, with the habit, it's just be intentional. I feel like is the direction. And I put focus because I think that I've been just laissez-faire, like it'll just happen, I do a little bit here and a little bit there. And I'm focused for a couple days and then I let go over the weekend. I mean, I think I've been saying this week after week, right? And this habit, that's a habit. I'm just focused and then I let go. Like I'm super extreme one way and then I'm swing the pendulum to the other side. So that consistency you talked about with the habit tracker and focusing on being intentional is going to really help.
So the first thing for me that I wrote down that came up was just get up when my alarm goes off. Like this morning, my alarm set for 5:45. I think I rolled out of bed at 6:15. And just attacking the day instead of letting the day come at me. And then also along with that, I have not been writing my affirmations down. So that's one of the things I want to start doing. And being like Christina, intentional. Gosh, I just kind of some days I let the days just come at me and I deal with it as it comes on, but I want to be intentional and start it by getting up when my darn alarm clock goes off.
Resonated with everything that everyone has said. All of them are things that I too need to work on. But the one thing that really stuck out, Carmen, that I am going to start with is negative thinking. Over the past week since season 9 talked to us about life and death being in the power of your tongue, I have caught myself having negative thoughts and redirecting them. I'd like to get into the habit of not even having them. I'd like for that habit to align with where I am headed and the goals that I've set out for myself. And I'm looking forward to this habit challenge because I have been so aware over the past week.
Hi, guys. The first thing that I'd like to tackle and to truly work on is working on not thinking negatively about myself, like I'm going to fail. And I think, it's because I do put I don't put myself first and I put everybody else first. By working too much, taking on too much, getting involved with too many things and putting too much on my plate. So I think I need to work on speaking to myself more positively, reprioritizing, redirecting my mind, and reprogramming my mind.
As we come into this next week, it's really recommitting, reevaluating. Look at those areas in our life. What is keeping us from, if there's any area where we're not fully committed, if there's any area our actions don't line up with where we want to go, being really serious about every single week, re-looking at that, recommitting, working on the vision, making sure that our words and our actions are lining up with where we want to go, who we want to become, not what we're trying to leave behind. And when we start doing that, that is when things truly start to change. They can't help but to change. When you change the way you think, you naturally change the way you act. And when you change the way you act, you naturally change your life. So change the way you think, you change your life, is essentially what it comes down to. And so proud of you guys. It's always easy for us to look in the mirror and look and see where we want to be doing better, where this isn't going the way we wanted. But if you really look at the shifts that you've already made in the past 4 weeks, the growth that you've already had in the past 4 weeks, like, it really is quite incredible. It really is quite incredible. You're doing something that most people would never be willing to do, which is committing to losing weight, aka committing to work on yourselves for 6 months. Like, working on ourselves, it's much easier to remodel a bathroom than it is to remodel ourselves. It's fun to think about remodeling ourselves, but when you start ripping stuff out and you get, in a remodel, you ever rip something out and you're like, wow, I didn't know what was under there. That's kind of what's happening. You rip something out and you're like, whoa, I have an infestation. And you're pushing through. Like, it is really, really admirable what you guys are all doing. And I hope you give yourselves enough credit that you're here, that you're moving forward, that you are not giving up, you are not giving in, and you are going to overcome these things, these challenges, these habits that have been there. And I couldn't be more proud of you and to be on this journey with you.